Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dynamic Divas. I am Rachit, your host for the show. I'm a brown man in my early 40s. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm wearing a red hoodie with my glasses, and I have short hairs. Technology is a vast space, and so are the stories within it. Our mission at Dynamic Divas is to highlight the diverse and outstanding women shaping the landscape of Microsoft technologies like Dynamics 365 Power Platform, and our focus is to bring these incredible stories of women who are making waves in the field of technology to inspire the new talent. Today, with me, we have a fantastic guest with us. She is ready to share her experience and insight. So, without further delay, let's dive into the world of dynamic divas and meet our exceptional guest, Rachel Profitt, joining us from Denver today. Welcome, Rachel. How are you today?
Hi, Ratchet, and thank you so much for having me on the show today. Should
It's
I
my
do my introduction?
I actually want you to do your introduction, but before handing over the introduction to you, I want to talk a bit about you because you have been so
Okay.
inspirational and there is so much to talk about you. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rachel is a principal program manager at Microsoft. She has a YouTube channel, she has a blog which goes all the way back to 2015, which is a gold mine for finance and operations professional. She's also famous with the name Dynamics 365 Lady. So if you search that hashtag, you will find her. Her blog is really inspiring, not only because it talks about the technology, but she has also shared her insights on how she deals with autism, which is her superpower, and shown how the special interests like spin aspects of it. Recently, Rachel is also working on creating a big, vast library of business process guides, which are helping the complex enterprise grade implementation of Dynamics 365. So it's really helpful for customers globally. And not to forget the epic sticker wall of Rachel. So, Rachel, I can talk about you whole day, but it's an absolute honor to have you in this show. I'm very excited. I'll hand it over to you for you to introduce to my audience about your journey in the field of technology and how you started your tech career.
Absolutely. Well, for those of you that don't know me, I always do inclusive and accessible introductions, just like Ratchet, and I appreciate that so much. But my name is Rachel Profitt, and I'm a white woman with long red hair that's down today. My pronouns are she, her, and I am wearing my rose colored glasses with a black t shirt and a red quarter zip shirt over it. And I am in my office, like I am on many of my videos, with my epic sticker wall behind me. And it is real. I can reach out and touch it. Um, so it's kind of a loaded question, like how I got started in Dynamics 365 and got going into this whole thing. So I started my journey just out of high school. I took a summer job at a small RV manufacturing company in northern Indiana, where I was born and raised. And I had no intentions of doing anything to do with Dynamics 365 or technology for that matter. I really wanted to go to college and become an architect. And so I worked at this RV manufacturer, and they were implementing this little thing called DamnGuard Exapta 2.5. Um, that's a throwback, right?
That's
And
nostalgic, yes.
so I got my hands wet, my feet dirty, whatever you want to call it, with the one of the very first versions of Exapta, and that's kind of how I got started on the customer side. I was in the accounting team and was doing some AP stuff for the initial rollout, and then very quickly transitioned into an AR role. And I don't know, those of you who've been around a while, you might remember the thing called the product builder. So I learned all about the product builder, and I kind of like started to like learn all these little bits and pieces about different modules and areas of the system and working in different departments. I still really had a strong desire to go to school and become an architect. And so I joined the military. And so I was in the Army National Guard here in the US. And I used my time in the military and chose that as an option to help me pay for school because I couldn't afford the loans and whatnot to go to university. Um, but my job kept evolving and morphing, and I had a lot of people around me that were supporting me and lifting me up. And I found that I was really good at this whole thing called Exapta. I self-taught how to write X++ code um, back in the day when there was no guide on how to write X++. And the guides that were provided to us were half English and half Danish. We had a funny term we used to use for them called Danglish. I don't know if you are familiar with the language
Yes,
called
I
Danglish.
remember those help guides which were embedded within the product itself. So we have to press F1, which used to open the developer documentation, and Microsoft Learn was not that matured at at that point in time.
Yeah, I don't
Agreed.
even think Microsoft Learn existed back then.
Yeah, true.
I remember when I was first learning, my first like toe in the water, so to speak, with technology was an Access database, and it was for collections because back in the day there was no collections in Exapta. And
True.
so I learned about Access databases, and we were like exporting customer data and balances and making collection letters through this Access database that I was sending to customers. So that was kind of like my first dip into something a little bit technical. And shortly after that was when I got my first kind of dip into HR, because we were a manufacturing facility and we had so many like HR, like injury, illness cases, like accidents in the warehouse. And I remember upstairs at the corporate office, there was people like literally with typewriters. I'm like aging myself, like filling out the OSHA forms. And so OSHA is like this, they're like the security, like, um, force, if you will, for safety in the US. It's a big deal, like to have OSHA violations. You don't want an OSHA violation, like bad thing. So I learned all about HR, and that was my first development project. Was I actually transitioned them off of their typewriters and made a bunch of tables and stuff to track the OSHA safety data and print on the pre-printed OSHA safety forms out of Exapta. We did a portal rollout. I learned about web. I learned everything I learned in my career organically. I never actually, so long story short, I never wound up going to university. I never got a degree to this day.
Wow.
So I kind of have 20 plus years of on the job experience. um,
Wow.
After about
Commendable.
5 years on the customer side, I moved to the partner side, right? And so I knew I needed to try something different, do something different. And I had no idea at the time that like I had this valuable skill that like people wanted. Like I was clueless to that. And I wish I had, cared enough when I was younger to maybe find that mentor in my life to kind of help show and shape my career maybe a little bit earlier. But I think it all happened in the way it was supposed to happen. But I went to the partner side and I moved to Colorado. And so that's where I'm at today. And I spent about 15 years on the partner side of things. And I found that I was very passionate. That's when I found my passion for training. A lot of people, I think, maybe you like remember
Yeah,
me as
I
like this
was
face of training, right?
true. I Whenever someone asks me what's the best source to learn dynamics, I definitely recommend your channel and say, okay, go watch all these videos on dynamics unboxing, because these are the tips from real time experience. It's not something at high level. It's really targeted to a very specific things which you talk about. So definitely that's reflected in the work you do. Your passion is definitely visible in all these contributions, Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah. I always wish I had more time to make more videos, but I think
True.
we all wish we had more time. But
No, that's true. That's very true, because once you identify your passion and then you start working towards it, that's when you can start to see the real value you can add to somebody else's career, not just by sharing knowledge, but actually creating a structured content. Because nowadays it's very overwhelming to find a lot of things on web, but if we have something where people can do in a structured way from beginners to advanced, that really helps them.
Yeah.
Rachel, I want to ask, like you mentioned about two things. One is having supportive people in your network and the value of mentorship. Would you like to talk a bit more about like how these things help you during the tough times?
Absolutely. I think like mentorship is something that like even when you're not seeking it out, there's likely somebody in your life or your career who's maybe being that mentor for you. When I was very early in my career, I never sought it out or specifically asked for things, but I definitely had some people that looking back were those mentors in my career. Now that I'm, a little bit further along and able to maybe more succinctly know what it is I'm looking for and what I want, I'm able to ask, for mentorship. And I think like there was probably a 10-year period in my career where it was like this idea, like the idea of mentorship, like I became aware of it and that I could or should maybe ask somebody like to mentor me, but I was afraid to ask like for somebody to mentor me. I think it was this feeling of like not being good enough. And I still struggle with this feeling of not being good enough. But I'm learning. And I think being graceful enough with yourself to know, like, well, you don't know everything and you're not expected to know everything. And it's okay to reach out and ask somebody else, for their expertise, for their opinion. And just because you asked for their opinion or their guidance doesn't mean you have to take that advice. And people, like I've found, especially as I've gotten older, are always very willing to help. Like most humans are actually very eager to help, especially if they feel like they get to showcase their own expertise, um, in that process. And I know for me, like I'm always eager to help people when they ask me for mentorship or questions. Um, so I think it's like when I came to that realization, it became a little bit easier to be able to ask for help.
I totally agree. I have the same view that if you sometimes feel that you don't know something and you have someone you know is an expert in that area, you can feel free to reach out and tell them what you are trying to get and what are you struggling with, and you definitely get help. And people like to help each other, especially in the
Mhm.
field of, if we talk about Microsoft Dynamics and the ERP, it's so big, so wide, so deep. Every module has so much to offer, and it's very difficult for anyone to know everything. Like it's not even possible for a human to know every single configuration of the complete application. So reach out to help if you're not feeling confident. And one thing which I do with myself is I talk to myself and sometimes say, you can do it. You can learn it, go for it. So just try to self motivate yourself. Don't be scared of new things. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right. Positive affirmations are so important. Um, I a couple years back, it was actually just before I joined Microsoft. I got a life coach because I was just at this impasse in my life, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like, do I want to keep working here? Do I want to go out independent? Should I like go look at other partners? But I knew I wasn't happy. But I didn't really know why I wasn't happy. And I, as a part of this process of going through with my life coach, they had me go through, it's I can't remember what it was called, but Clifton something or other. And it's like you take a whole big survey about yourself and like what are your strengths and weaknesses. But I also learned what my love language was. And it's super interesting. Like your love language applies to all relationships in your life. Like professional or personal. And so I learned that my love language is words of affirmation. And so to your point, like the positive affirmations are like so meaningful to me and I need them. Like, and now that I know that, I can seek them out for one. But to your point, like you can also give yourself positive words of affirmation. And it was actually fantastic advice that I've received from therapists on my journey of like learning about my autism and some of my other like mental health struggles. Um, and like putting up post-it notes like for myself. And I actually have some like on my mirror in my bathroom that I read every morning, and I put them around in different places. And I think
Right.
like for me, that visual reminder and like the verbal reminder, even if it's to myself,
Yeah.
are so key and so important.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think these small things makes a big difference, and in your day-to-day life, and keeps you motivated, makes you feel confident, makes you feel positive about yourself. So I think that's a great advice, Rachel. I also wanted to ask you, like as you mentioned, when you started with Exapta AX, you and because we are in this field of ERP, there is so much to learn and upskill. You worked in AR, AP, collection letters. You did a bit of coding. So we do a bit of everything, and then we find our area of interest and we build our expertise in that. So, what would be your advice to someone who is starting new in Dynamics, or if someone wants to make a switch their career to Dynamics space? What are the various career options people can pursue?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's so many career options, I think, um, in terms of like the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform space. I think like knowing what your strengths are, like, and what you're good at. Like if you like troubleshooting and solving problems, like being a consultant or a business analyst or a support person could be a good fit for you. If you are more creative and you want to like design and build things, right, there are definitely several career paths you can take in that. Like within Microsoft, we use designers to create the designs of our actual user interfaces. We have program managers that kind of design like the functionality, if you will, and then we have like engineers who get to do all the technical designs. So like depending on like where your skill set is at and what you want to do, think about like one, what are your strengths, and then two, like what are you passionate about? Because I think like from a product perspective, like you know if you want to change lives, well, you can certainly change lives with Dynamics 365. Do you want to change lives in healthcare? Do you want to change lives in retail and like food and beverage? Do you want to work with not for profits? Like, what does that mean to you? And I think that's a very personal decision. When I went through the life coaching with my life coach, right, like he made me write a lot of these things down, and it really forced me and challenged me to think about like what mattered to me, and how do I get a work-life balance, and what does a work-life balance mean? Like, what would that even look like if I was to write an imaginary story of what my own personal work-life balance is? And so I think kind of putting pen to paper on some of those basics and being honest with yourself, like, but also knowing that you might have to take a few steps to get there. Like, you're not going to get there overnight. It's not like an immediate transition. I've been doing this dynamics thing for 20 plus years. And so certainly I have a very, very broad and a very, very deep knowledge of a lot of different areas. But that's what I enjoy. That's what I'm passionate about. That doesn't mean that that's what's going to fit or work for you.
True. I think very well said. It's because this product is so has so much to offer for every industry. People don't have to really stick into one particular thing. You can explore different industries, different type of work profile. Like if you want to work as a business analyst, or if you want to work in technology side or into security side, you have so much to learn in this space. But I agree with you. It's not a quick thing to good grasp on this product. It takes time, so we have to be a bit patient. That's what I tell a lot of fresh graduates whom I mentor. Like, don't get scared on day one. Keep going with it, and you will reap the benefits in long run.
But
Well,
that
that was great,
despair.
Rachel. Yeah. Cool. Finally, Rachel, can we talk something about what are some programs or platforms which aspiring or new women can reach out to in the field of women in technology? If you can share some thoughts around those areas, if there is some work which Microsoft is doing in this space. Yeah.
Sure. Like internally here at Microsoft, we have what we call employee resource groups. And so I belong to the Women at Microsoft group. But there are some other groups that I belong to as well. So one of them that is a US based not-for-profit organization is called Women in Dynamics. They show up at all the big conferences and events and have great opportunities for women to kind of sign up and learn, build career skills and things like that. Another fantastic organization that I volunteer and donate to, it's a pretty new organization. It was founded just like a year or two ago. It's called TechFluent. And they are actually helping underprivileged men and women reskill, like, so change careers from, you know, one thing to learn the Power Platform and Dynamics 365, and then helping them get jobs in the Power Platform and Dynamics. So that's another really great organization. And then there's also another organization. It's a little bit more targeted at young people. So if you're a young person looking to learn about technology and like wanting to kind of see if that's maybe a good fit for you, is a not-for-profit organization called Girls Who Code. And so this organization helps go into schools and things like that, and teaches young, like primary school aged children how, you know, to code and like get them into like those kind of STEM activities that kind of drive towards you can be in tech. And I think like being in tech like can mean so many different things. Like, although I learned at some point in my career how to write code, I didn't really need to learn to write code to be successful, and you don't either. So if coding's not your thing, don't feel like you have to learn how to code to be in tech and to make a big impact. So I would like say, don't let that scare you. Like,
Yeah, that's what I also get a lot of times in this discussion with new people. Like, they always think tech is all about coding, and I tell them, like, there are all these tools where you just don't need a developer skill, but you just maybe need a developer mindset to build a Power App or to create a Power Automate and use these low code, no code platforms. And there is so much to explore in this area. Yeah.
I would say not even a developer mindset. You don't even need
Yeah.
you need to have a creative mindset.
Creative
And,
mindset.
and
Yeah,
like
I
some
agree.
people have that like creativity gene, if you will, like, and they like to create. So if you like to create, then technology could be a spot for you. But even if you don't like to create, a big challenge that we have in technology, even as we're like bringing AI in, right, is like mapping technology to business, right? So if you're really into business, like think about like, and I've made almost an entire career out of how do I map technology to business language in a meaningful way and help people understand this thing, because it makes sense to me. So like, how can I help them understand and like connect those dots? And like, I learned enough to be super dangerous
Yes.
writing code, but
Right.
my passion really lies more on the solving business problem sides of things.
I totally agree, Rachel. This area in which we are into, it's all about solving the business problems, solving the complex business processes, helping the to take the pain off our end users and improve their productivity. So definitely, I agree. Creativity lies at the core, and AI is also going to help new people develop those skills. It's not something to be scared of, but I think AI is going to bring more value to the new generations, where they can do more productive things, more creative things. Like, I see my daughter playing with DALI and Chat GPT in a way which I can't even think of. So I believe there is a great potential. Yeah.
ChatGPT helped me write JavaScript for my own like my own website. Like, I am not a JavaScript developer, but like that to me was like amazing. And like, we are only at the very beginning, like seedling age of AI,
Right.
and it's only going to get better. um you know Learn about it, be responsible about it. Like, AI is amazing. I use it every day in my job, and
Yeah.
it's been life changing for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think my life will change soon. Once AI starts writing X++ code, then I can focus on other areas.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Thanks a lot, Rachel. So I'll just want to say towards the end that first of all, a big thank you to you, Rachel, for spending your time with us. I am sure your ideas and this talk will inspire a lot of new talent. And I, I I just want to say like that the tech world is diverse and there is a place for everyone to thrive. So uh, let's continue celebrating and supporting each other, help each other, share more. I hope to share more such stories, reach out to more women in tech, and bring more similar episodes in future. But yeah, I would like to say to my audience that stay tuned, and we are definitely working to bring more amazing women leaders like Rachel in this show and inspire you. Any closing remarks from you, Rachel?
No, I mean, thank you so much, Ratchet, for having me on the show today. It's been an honor to be able to come on here and hopefully inspire some other women out there to, go for it, dream big.
Dream big, yes, and leave your comments. And if you need any further advice, feel free to comment, and we'll definitely get back to you. All right, thank you for listening, guys, and we'll be back with another episode. Okay.